Hello everyone, my name is Charvi Shetty, and today I'll be speaking about enabling patients to have better control over their own health. So a little bit about myself. My background is in bioengineering. I graduated from UC Berkeley with my undergrad degree, and then I pursued my graduate degree at UCSF in biomedical imaging. A lot of my research focused on looking at microstructural correlations in white matter tracts in the brain, and then I mainly dealt with image processing of all of these MRI files. After I graduated, I then went on to work as a software engineer at Genentech, developing algorithms to determine medication efficiency. And so enough about myself. I'd also like to learn a little bit about all of you here today. And so I pose a question with, how many of you know someone with asthma or have had suffered from asthma as a kid? Okay, so that's about a lot more than I had expected, actually, because in the US alone, around 40 million people are affected by the disease, which means around 10% are affected. And of this population, 10.3 million kids are affected by asthma. And despite children only encompassing about a quarter of the total asthmatic population, they still account for nearly half of all hospitalizations and emergency visits. I'm the founder of KNOX Medical Diagnostics, where we're developing Spiritus, an asthma management platform for kids with a device that captures information regarding lung function that is then relayed out onto a mobile app for parents to view, as well as for physicians to track asthma severity in between office visits. So the problem with the current healthcare system is that information is remained trapped into different silos. Proper treatment and care is done in the hospital, but patients are expected to basically take care of themselves and once they leave the hospital. So patients are expected to recollect all of the events that they've experienced during their next office visit, which could be anywhere between 2 and 3 months down the line. So there's a lack of communication in between the doctors and the patients themselves. And this lack of communication can also lead to the lack of innovation in this field. For example, when we're asking adults who have suffered from asthma as a kid, their current solution back at that time was through the use of a peak flow meter. A peak flow meter is a little ball within a plastic tube that moves up and down within that. And then you have to manually write down these measurements onto a piece of paper and bring it into the doctor's office. Kids today are using the exact same method and the exact same technology. The reason that peak flow meters are not so usable is because they're so inaccurate that pulmonologists no longer accept these readings. So for instance, if you blow into it 3 times, you could get 3 completely different results. The only time patients get proper treatment is within the hospital through a test called Spirometry, which provides an accurate measurement and a holistic view of your lung health. However, it's currently trapped in the hospital setting because these machines cost thousands of dollars and also require a trained lab technician to coach the patient to perform the test properly. Pulmonologists then use these results to determine the degree of airway tract obstruction in the lungs. And what this provides are metrics for how the patient is currently doing and their current severity of asthma as compared to where they should be and what is their normal state. And so in creating a solution, we wanted to ask parents what they had wanted. And so here's an example.
In order to actually take care of Finn, I really need to see where he is on certain days and if I need to take him to the doctor, and right now I really don't have any way to measure that. So it would be great to have a tool where I could check his breathing and decide whether or not to send him to school or take him to the doctors or take him to the ER. So that's a huge value to me as a parent in really having that kind of knowledge to really keep my child healthy.
So after conducting a lot more of these types of interviews, after interviewing both parents as well as doctors and researchers, we then decided to create our own solution. So our group of 3 engineers went down to the basement of the building in UC Berkeley and started to basically leverage cheap sensors along with the computing power of smartphones to create a solution so then we could then translate this technology found in the hospitals into the home setting. And in order to also ensure medical utility, we partnered with 2 UCSF pediatric pulmonologists who are helping us translate this technology from the hospital and bring it into the home. And so now that we're working with them, they've been able to basically state that they too think that their patients can better manage their asthma if they're given the proper tools to do so. So we began benchmarking the early results. Over here, what you see is the graphs and the results that you obtain from spirometry. Spirometry creates the graphs over here, which is a flow volume loop. The top graph meaning it's a flow rate on the y-axis and the volume on the x-axis. In a normal patient or in a healthy subject, you're supposed to see a linearly descending portion. And in a slightly obstructed lung, such as one that is found in an asthma patient, you see scooping in the descending portion. So initially, when we were first doing these tests, just internally, we were getting graphs like the ones on the right with our device Spiritus. Assuming that I had been a control, we noticed that there was some sort of resistance that was found in our system. And however, when we went to the hospital at UCSF, we noticed that we received identical results. So this meant 2 things. One, the good news was that our device was very accurate and we received almost identical results. But the second part, the bad news, was that I too had asthma, and I found out using our own device. So yes, our device works, and now we're at the stage where we're still validating the accuracy and consistency of our device. We're partnered with UCSF to begin a validation study consisting of 30 kids, both with asthma and without asthma. And the results are very similar to this in that they're nearly identical and within a 1% difference for the early patients that we've tested thus far. The ones in the hospital devices cost $3,000, and we've built ours for less than $100. And so we've also begun alpha testing at the home setting. So one of the things that we've been doing during this alpha testing, during this iterative process of design for usability, is that we asked the 7-year-old alpha tester to draw what he would like to see for a product that he would ideally want to use. And this is because we know that in building a product for kids, we would need to work with them in order to create a product that they would want to use. And just moving the product from the lab to the home setting in itself was rewarding. So when we finally dropped off our first product into the hands of an alpha tester, the mom noticed that I was longingly staring onto our device as I was leaving. She looked at me and reassured me and said, "I know this is like your baby, but don't worry, I'll take care of it. I won't drop it, I'll keep it clean, and if anything goes wrong, I'll be sure to contact you right away." And so with that, I was able to leave with a peace of mind. So we know that what our goal is to basically tear down the barriers between the hospital and the home. And one way we can do this is through facilitating the communication between doctors and patients. And so by bridging the gap of healthcare, we can shift the power of knowledge into the hands of patients. Thank you.